This is big. It's the Volvo EX90, a fully electric luxury 3-row SUV that's big enough for your family and has a big battery pack for big road trips as well. And in this review, I'm going to tell you what's good about it, what could be better, and the best alternatives to it too. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and let's get to it. A fully electric luxury SUV from Volvo with 3 rows of seats. Essentially, this was supposed to replace the XC90, which has been a very important part of the brand's range for a very long time. Now, well, the XC90 is going to continue on with a facelifted model because people aren't ready to go full electric across all models just yet. So here we have the EX90, which has its own role to play in this vehicle lineup. And let me tell you, you'll have to have a bit of money to get into one of these. The entry-level version, which is this one here, starts at $125,000 before on-road costs, and then there's an even more expensive one. Both of them have the same battery pack and the same charging technology, but the higher spec version gets, well, more power, more torque, and more stuff. But let's talk about what you're getting as standard in this entry-level version. It's called the Plus, and as I said, it's 125 grand plus on-road costs, and it comes with the following stuff as standard: 20-inch alloy wheels, LED lighting all around the car. You've got keyless entry by way of a smartphone, so you can connect up your phone and it'll unlock the car for you. There's also really great technology on the inside. You're getting a 14.5-inch infotainment screen with built-in Google technology, so you've got Google Maps and Assistant and Play Store. There's also wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a Bose 14-speaker sound system in this entry-level version, a panoramic glass roof, and yes, you can get it with a sunshade if you want to, and there's a few other options to consider as well. There are 8 different color choices. None of them cost you extra, which is great, and there are some interior color choices that you can make as well. And if you want a few more features and a lot more fastness, well, you could step up to the twin motor Performance Ultra version. It's $10,000 more expensive, but it gets you extra gear as well as extra fast. So things like ventilated front seats, a 25-speaker Bowers & Wilkins sound system, air suspension and adaptive dampers, as well as bigger wheels. And it does have plenty of really great features. I'll show you the interior shortly. It's in a few sections time. But first, I think we should consider some alternatives to this. Okay, if you're thinking 3-row SUV, fully electric, family friendly, and well, maybe a little bit less money, you could go and have a look at the Kia EV9. It starts at just under 100 grand. It's a 3-row family SUV with heaps and heaps of space and practicality and lots of EV driving range as well. There are a few different versions available, topping out at around $120,000, and they are all nice to drive, nice to live with as well, apart from some of the safety stuff which might get on your nerves, but I do think that you are getting a very, very nice vehicle for that kind of cash. But then again, you're not getting the Volvo badge if you're spending that kind of money. And if you're thinking, well, I'm not worried about badges, I want the car that fits my needs and I don't necessarily care if it's an SUV or something else, well, maybe have a look at the Zeekr 009. It is a fully electric MPV or people mover with sliding doors, which are more practical than you might actually think they are in parking situations in particular, especially if you've got kids. And it is tech laden. It's got plenty of luxury appointments on the inside. It starts at about 135 grand, so it'd want to be good. And let me tell you, my impressions over my time in that vehicle as a passenger have been really, really positive. Can't wait to drive it and do my review. Make sure you ring the bell to keep up to date with all of my content, and you'll be notified when I do. And speaking of that, there are plenty of new electric vehicles coming to Australia very soon, including things like the Hyundai Ioniq 9. Yeah, another brand name that you might know, with a highly specified electric vehicle coming soon. And there's plenty more from other new brands like BYD too. So make sure you subscribe, and well, you might have more to choose from by the end of 2025. It looks very similar to the other models in the Volvo electric lineup that are current, at least. So the EX30 looks very similar, but this is obviously the big brother. And yes, it does have a weird little pod on the roof of the vehicle, doesn't it? That's designed to enclose some LiDAR technology, which is a bit interesting, isn't it? Now, let's have a look at this thing in profile because it is a large vehicle. You'll see all the dimensions on your screen now, and yes, it is more than 5 meters long. So if you are nervous about driving a big vehicle, this one won't be the right size for you. But let's have a look at the rear end design and see whether it's a good looker or not. I think personally that it is a really attractive luxury SUV. I'd love to know your thoughts though. Is it too minimalist? It is a 7-seater, and yes, you do get an electric tailgate as standard. Let's have a look at how much space we have to work with the third row seats in place. And you can see for yourself, there's plenty of room in there. I'll put the figure on your screen now, and that means that you should be able to fit some school bags and still have school kids in the car as well. And just have a look at the amenities in the back here. So you've got some netted sections, you've got a 12-volt port there, a light, lovely little shopping bag hook there, and you've got these buttons right here to help you lower those seats down, but we'll get to that in a sec. Now on this side, you've also got another light, another shopping bag hook. There is a cargo cover as well, and underneath here, you'll find storage for some stuff, but you won't find a spare wheel. It means you can fit charging cables and so forth, or even bags underneath there if you need to. But let me lower down these seats and we can see what it's like with the third row down. So press the button and see what happens here. Electric folding third row seats. I don't know if they're a must, but they might be a nice to have for some people who can't reach that far. Now, you can see for yourself there, there is plenty of space on offer, and you'll see the number on your screen. It does mean that this will be a practical 5-seater if that's what you're considering it as, with a massive boot. But those back row seats, well, I'll show you what the space is like in there in a couple of minutes time. But first, I want to show you that you can also raise those seats using those buttons. And I want to show you under the bonnet because there's more storage. So you can see for yourself, there is a frunk under the bonnet of this vehicle. And that means you've got extra storage for odds and ends. Maybe your cables could fit under there. You've got a tyre repair kit right there, your safety triangle, and that's where you'll fill up your washer fluid. But look, I think that is a nice inclusion to have for a vehicle like this, especially considering that it's all-wheel drive. All right, people, I don't think this is going to necessarily feel like a massive change from other Volvos that have come in the past, and that might be perfectly fine. This brand knows what it's trying to achieve with its interior design, in my opinion. Minimalist, chic, luxurious, but still with plenty of renewable materials. So you won't find a trace of animal on these seats. They are made with what is called Nordico. It's partly recycled man-made material, and it does have a bit of a peculiar sort of feel to it. Maybe not the most luxurious feel, I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong. There are other elements in this interior which do have some beautiful design elements to them. I really like these finishes on the dashboard, this wood grain. And if you don't like this particular color combo, you can tailor the vehicle to suit your needs. There are a few different color options available, and well, that's one of the beauties of choosing a high-end vehicle these days, right? So let's have a look at some of the controls in here. Well, a lot of it is just this screen, this very large tablet style infotainment and media screen. Well, it's got all the stuff you would expect. It is connected, so you've got the Google Assistant technology, you've got these maps as well, so you can easily jump in and figure out where you're going. You can find charge points along the way as well, and you've got heaps of other great tech with that assistant technology too. You can just speak to the car and it will do what you want. You've got YouTube if you want to jump in there and check out my latest videos. And you've also got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as I said. There's a trip computer on the screen too, so you can jump around and see how you've been driving. Not overly efficiently for this particular car, but look, it's good to have that at-a-glance info if you're looking for it. You've also got an at-a-glance button for your camera, so you can really just quickly jump into the camera screen and see what's around you. It is a very good camera system, I have to say. Rear auto brake as well, which is another nice bonus. Yes, you do have your glove box on screen, like some other vehicles in the electric segment, and there's other controls on screen which you'll have to get used to as well. So in the settings control section, quick controls, you can adjust your mirrors, you can open the boot, open the glove box, adjust the rain wiper sensitivity, so forth, and even turn off your lane keeping assistance, turn on your one pedal drive if that's what you want, and all-wheel drive is adjustable. I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get into the driving section. Now, here there are plenty of other controls as well. Look, I don't have heaps and heaps of time to go through everything, but I'm sure that you will get used to this screen pretty quickly. I have, and I've only been driving it for a couple of hours, and I think that this will come as second nature, especially if you are an existing Volvo owner. There's plenty of great tech and usability on this screen. There's another little screen in front of the driver as well, which will show you up your maps on the display, which is really bloody good. You can change that display if you don't need them there, so you can go through, just have a pure speedo or whatever else, this assistance one when all the cruise control stuff is on. Speaking of which, your cruise control is that one there, but it's also your gear selector. So like lots of other new EVs, you have to tap it down or hold it down to put it into cruise control. Then you use these controls here to adjust your speed or the steering assistance if you want it on or off. On this side, you'll find some media controls, and over there, you've got your blinkers and lights. And look, you get used to all of this pretty quickly. Like I said, it hasn't taken me a degree to figure out how to use it all. And there's a head-up display in front of the driver as well. I'm not sure if you can see it. There it is. And down here, let's have a look at some of the storage inclusions. So there is a wireless phone charger there. That's a key card as well. You've got cup holders there. There's a volume dial and also a play pause button there. Plenty of storage underneath there. It's just a bit weird. You might actually find that things will fall through that gap, and that could be a little bit annoying. There's USB-C ports. There's a big center console bin, and as I said, you've got the glove box, you've got your bottle holders in the doors, and above there are some vanity mirrors with illumination. You've got an auto dimming rear vision mirror, but not a digital mirror, which is maybe a bit of a shame. You've got all your connected services up there too if you need them. So all the tech, yeah, as you would expect. All the comfort and luxury, well, let's see in the second row. Okay, so this seat is set for my driving position. I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall, and I've got heaps of space with the seat set where it is right now. Lots of footroom, lots of knee room, and even a really good amount of headroom. Now, if you're wondering, yes, the glass roof can be optioned with a shade if you want it. The brand says that it does have really good UV protection, but hey, you might not like having bright light in your eyes at times. I don't. I would have the sunshade. Now up here, you've got some hooks, which are kind of swivelly, adjustable. You've also got lights on the side. No grab handles in any position. So at the front or in the back, which is maybe a bit of a disappointment. Now, let's have a look at some of the other inclusions down here. So, map pockets on the seat packs. We've got climate control with heated seats in the back here, which is nice. And you've got a fan controller to adjust the fan speed if you want to. Vents down there and more vents up in the pillars, which I bloody love. No sunshades in the windows though, so parents might not love that. And the door handles might take some learning too. Nice soft materials on the doors though, and nice ambient lighting in this finish on the door as well, as you can see there. And bottle holders down there with lights, and you can slide these seats forwards and backwards to allow more space for third row occupants. Even in that position, well, I'll jump in there and show you in a sec what it's like, but you do have ISOFIX points in the window seats here and 3 top tethers for the second row, plus this pop down armrest with cup holders that can, well, hold bottles, I guess, as well. A bit of a strange shape, but at least it does the job. And there's no transmission tunnel intrusion to contend with either. This car also has an integrated booster seat system, so you can plonk that section up like that, and then you can get a specific booster seat to plonk on top of that raised position, which could be handy if you're okay with putting your child in the middle seat. Lots of people just prefer them to be closer to the door so they can help them get in and out. I'm one of those. Now let me show you the third row space. This could be interesting, people. Let's find out. So, got a couple of options here to put this seat forward, slide it like so, and yeah, you can even fold the seats in the back down like so if you want to, as you can see. That's pretty neat to be able to do that from there. Just make sure that you don't have one of those brat kids who decides to do that to their brother or sister while they're already sitting in the back. Hey, sorry for giving any kids any thoughts of doing that. But let's have a look. If I jump into this very back row, put that seat back, and I'll move this seat back to where it was. Get my arm out of there because it got stuck. And I mean, honestly, the brand says this is comfortable for 170 centimeter people, and I am more than 170 centimeters people. So yes, it is not comfortable for me, but it might be comfortable for your kid. My feet are tucked in tight. My knees are hard against. Obviously you can slide these seats forward to make it more accommodating, but it's the headroom that's the real issue. So If you have shorter kids that might be able to fit in the third row, it could be okay. Just keep in mind also, you don't get ISOFIX points in the very back. Those things might count against this car if you're looking for the ultimate family practical vehicle, but at least you're getting directional vents and a reasonable view out, although it does rake up quite a bit. You've got these little bottle holder sections here, and the space, well, yeah, I mean, you can see my foot is not comfortable there, and I am not all that comfortable back here, but I'm taller than what they say should be able to fit back here. Both versions of the EX90 sold in Australia come with a 111 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is massive. It's an NMC battery, 107 kilowatt hours usable battery pack, but that is heaps. And both versions have the same EV driving range WLTP claim of 570 kilometers. They both have the same charging specs as well. So your charge port is on the passenger side rear, as you'll see here, which is nice, good for street parkers. And you've got AC at a maximum rate of 11 kilowatts, which should mean about 10 hours charge time if you are charging on AC 11 kilowatt power. You will need 3-phase at home or at work to do that. And your DC charging rate is a generous 250 kilowatts. And thankfully, Volvo has included a more realistic charging expectation for that charging time. So 10 to 80% in about 35 minutes using 150 kilowatt charging, which is what you'll more likely find on your road trip. But it's going to be pretty amenable for plenty of people. Obviously, you can connect up to the car and set your charging timers via your smartphone app or do it on the screen inside. And it is pretty high tech, as you would expect. But let's talk about the powertrain details in a bit more detail. As I mentioned earlier, there are two different versions of the EX90. The entry-level one doesn't have entry-level outputs, let me tell you. The dual motor powertrain in that base grade Plus has 300 kilowatts and 770 newton meters of torque, and it has dual motors, so it's all-wheel drive with a single-speed transmission doing the job. And let me tell you, 5.9 seconds 0 to 100, that is not base model fast. And then if you want the ultra twin motor performance version, well, you're getting more power, more torque. 380 kilowatts, 910 newton meters, and 4.9 seconds 0 to 100. Do you need your family SUV to be that quick? Maybe not, but you might like it. All right, let's go for a drive and see what it's like. Alrighty, so this is the EX90 entry-level version. It's not the fast one, and I don't think you really need to spend the extra 10 grand to get the fast one if you're thinking about it, because this one has plenty of pep when it comes to putting your foot down. It will still throw you back in your seat. You've got dual motor all-wheel drive, so it is fast, there's no doubt about that. It's also heavy, and it feels pretty heavy when you do put your foot down and when you're trying to stop it as well in some situations. Now obviously you do have regenerative braking as part of this package, and you can set it up so that you've got a single pedal driving mode and multiple different ways that you can configure the driving situation if you want to. And as part of that regen braking system, you can even just press a button down the bottom of the screen to adjust it to be in one pedal driving mode or not, depending on what you're after. And you can also adjust the all-wheel drive system so it's in constant all-wheel drive or in on-demand variable all-wheel drive, which will basically figure out where the torque needs to go in different situations and apply it that way. But generally, I am finding that this is a comfortable and luxurious feeling experience. Like, it is quiet, it is refined, and I guess you'd expect that of an electric SUV like this from a luxury brand, but it is actually ticking plenty of boxes in terms of that luxury factor. And while it isn't necessarily the most dynamic thing to drive, because it is a big, heavy SUV and it's a Volvo as well, I do think that it is, well, good enough when it comes to the steering. It's got a nice light action to it, and it's quite direct on center. So that means that you don't have to steer it very much for it to make a pretty big movement while you're driving. And the ride comfort, I will say, is maybe a little bit soft at the rear axle. Means you can sort of feel like it's bouncing a little bit at the back, but for most roads that I've driven on today outside Adelaide, it's been rather agreeable. And I think that's exactly the way to sum up the drive experience here. It is rather agreeable. It's not necessarily the most fun you'll have in a $120,000 plus electric vehicle, but it is luxurious and premium feeling and comfortable and quiet and all those things that you would expect of a Volvo that just happens to be a 3-row electric SUV for this kind of money. Now, when it comes to the safety stuff though, you do have to keep in mind that you've got all of the active safety technology on board here. Things like lane keeping assist, which will push you around a little bit in your lane, but you can quickly disable the steering assistance if you don't want it on when you've got your cruise control on. Yep, you've got adaptive cruise control too, and there's driver monitoring as well, but thankfully it's not as annoying as some other new cars when it comes to that tech. Now, across this drive where we've been driving urban and highway and freeway, it has been, like I said, pretty agreeable in terms of the drive experience, but also in terms of the technology on offer here. Now, it is a large car, and thankfully you do get a surround view camera as standard for your parking maneuvers. You would want to, because it isn't necessarily the easiest thing to see out of. I mean, you've got quite small mirrors, but as I said earlier, you do have to adjust them through the screen, and obviously you'll set up your profiles based on who's driving if you share this car with a partner or something. But over shoulder vision is also a little bit impeded by, well, this rather raked sort of rear angle to the body of the car and the glass house. And also in your rear view mirror, well, you've got big headrests, and if you've got heads on those headrests, then yeah, you won't be able to see out the back of the car as easily as in some other cars. And unlike some other big SUVs like this, you don't get a standard camera mirror either. So all of those things might factor into your decisions. Now, let's talk efficiency. There's just one number for both versions of this SUV, and that might be surprising to you because, well, there's a massive power and torque increase for the high-spec version, but you'll see the number on your screen now, and it is incredibly low for a dual-motor, all-wheel drive, 3-row SUV. That is super-duper impressive in terms of the claimed number, at least. And if you're wondering what I've seen over this test drive in the Adelaide Hills and the surrounding areas, well, you'll see it on your screen now, and I think that that is probably representative of what you might see in real-world driving. It just depends on whether you do a lot of stop-start stuff or if you spend a bit of time at higher speeds. Usually big vehicles like this that are fully electric will be less efficient when you aren't on and off the brakes because you're not constantly topping up the battery pack. So if you are going to be doing long distance commuting all the time, yeah, it might be a little bit less efficient. The EX90 doesn't have an ANCAP or Euro NCAP safety rating right now, but I don't think that necessarily matters. This brand has a fantastic reputation for safety and, well, a pretty good reputation when it comes to the safety technology as well. So you've got things like autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian, cyclist and junction and head-on detection. There's also lane keeping assistance and emergency lane keeping and adaptive cruise control and front and rear cross traffic alert. You've got blind spot monitoring. There's a surround view camera as standard, parking sensors all around the vehicle. There's even radars inside the car to detect if there's anyone left behind when you try and lock it. So there are plenty of great safety features in this vehicle. And when it comes to the airbags, yeah, there are plenty, including airbags that cover the third row occupants as well as the front row and second row, and a front center airbag to prevent both front occupants from head clashes in the event of a side impact. So safe, yeah, I'd bet my house on it. Volvo offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty in the Australian market, and there's also an 8-year warranty if you're choosing a fully electric Volvo. Plus, there's a big bonus when it comes to the servicing for your fully electric Volvo. So you don't have to pay a cent for the first 5 years of maintenance for this vehicle, and your service intervals are every 12 months and 15,000 Ks, which is maybe a little bit more needy than some other EVs, but hey, it's free, so does it really matter? You also get roadside assistance included with the purchase of the vehicle too for the first 5 years. Yeah, seems like it'll be a pretty promising thing to own, but we all know that EVs are considered a bit more of a risk when it comes to the resale value, but hey, I don't know if it would turn me off buying it if this fit my needs. It's bloody lovely. Safe, yes. Luxurious, you bet. And spacious, no doubt about that. This is a fantastic family electric SUV, and if that is what you're after, well, you just have to figure out whether you can justify the cost, because it is a bit expensive. There's no doubt about that, but it's also very lovely. So what do you think about it? Would you choose it, one of the alternatives I mentioned, or something completely different? Thanks for having your say in the comments section. Thanks for subscribing, and thank you for watching. And I'll see you when I see you.